Hi, I'm Kim Coco. Today's 30-minute practice is going to be a reset and refresh for the system, mainly the hips, spine, and shoulders. It's great to use post-workout or as just a quick practice to squeeze in throughout your day to create some length and space in your tissues. You might want to grab a strap or a belt or a tie if you have it, and go ahead and set it aside. And then go ahead and take a moment and go ahead and come and start in child's pose. So take some few rounds of breath to spread the knees wide, to sit the hips back and start to stretch the arms out long. And then you can rest your head down on the floor and let the spine start to traction out. See if you can take a few moments to simply let the shoulders melt away from the spine, shoulder blades dropping down, gravity pulling your hips closer to the floor. And begin to tune into that natural rhythm of breath as it moves in through your nose and down to the lungs that press out the ribs and spread them apart. And then just notice that gentle exhale that presses the breath back out all the way through the nose and out into the room around you. And then just follow that even cycle of breath without having to change it at first, just noticing what you're working with in this moment. And then take a few rounds to slowly deepen the rhythm of breath, so more purposefully engage a deeper inhale and slow down the out breath. Go ahead and take a few more cycles of breath there, setting any particular intention you have for this time on your mat. And then take your next inhale and make your way up to tabletop position, spreading the hands, shoulders over the wrists, and hips over the knees. Then on your inhale, soften the spine, melt it down, take a gentle back bend as you look up. Exhale, tuck and round, press the floor away, and lengthen the whole spine. So with your in-breath, slowly tip the pelvis up and back with the sitting bones, tuck and round, tucking the tailbone and rounding the whole upper back. So take one more round here. So you can slow down the breath to match your movements. And the next time you inhale, go ahead and release your weight from your hands and come to stand on your knees and step your left foot forward. So the left knee is over the left ankle and the hips stay over the back knee. Left hand, right, left thigh. Flip the right palm up and stretch up and over to your left, lengthening this whole right side of the body. And then instead of creating a back bend, draw the floating ribs in so that the spine stays long, tailbone still tucks toward the floor. And maybe even let your left ear drop towards your left shoulder. But notice that as the right side of the body lengthens, the left hip drops and the left side can stay long. As you reach up and over with your right fingertips. On your next inhale, sweep that right arm back up to the ceiling and exhale, lower it down by your side. And then feeling your tailbone tucked towards your left heel, draw the left heel back without moving it necessarily and drop your hips down toward your front heel. And so you can take a nice low lunge here, resting your hands on your front thigh or taking your hands to the floor. You might tuck the back toes under, might walk that right foot back slightly. But whether you're staying more upright or your hands come down to blocks or the floor, see if you can move the left heel back, see if you can broaden the collarbones, and see if you can feel a little bit of heaviness in the hips as they drop down toward your mat. And then notice if you're clenching your breath in any way, and can you re-lengthen it? And then take another 2 rounds of breath here, lengthening into that right psoas, the hip flexor, as you drop your hips down to the mat. On your next inhale, make your way back all the way upright. Plant the left knee underneath the left hip. Take your way back to tabletop position and take a cat-cow. So inhale, gentle back bend. Exhale, tuck and round as you press the floor away. And this time come to a flat back, neutral spine. Walk your hands out 2 inches. Keep the left hand on the floor and inhale, stretch the right arm up. We're going to thread the needle. Exhale, weave that right hand behind the left wrist and then stay on the left hand and the right shoulder, and then drop both hips back in space as you let the right temple drop down on the ground. And just notice here where you feel a sense of tightness. And then can you use the breath to create space in that area? Softening around the head, the jaw, the eyes. Using that left hand a little bit more to press the floor away and rotate that left side of the body into a twist as you lengthen the right side. On your next inhale, plant the left hand down, stretch the right arm up. And as you exhale, release the right hand to the floor. So spread the fingers, press the floor away, hug the forearms in and broaden the collarbones, tuck the toes under, hover the knees about an inch or two over the floor as you lengthen the spine and strengthen your core. And then keeping the knees hovering, slowly start to press the floor away and begin to move the hips up and back toward down dog. So you have a nice, straight, strong, firm foundation with the arms. And then maybe you want to pedal out the heels, or slowly start to walk both heels down toward your mat, but be less concerned about how close your heels are to the floor and more concerned about the length you're creating in the spine as the hips move toward the back of your mat, the quadriceps move towards your hamstrings, and the calves begin to lengthen. And imagine the sole of the foot getting longer. Let the head and neck drop. And then on your next in-breath, drop the knees back to the ground for tabletop. And then make your way to stand on your knees once again. This time we'll step the right foot out in front. So again, you have 90-degree angles at both knees. Hips over the back knee here. And then right hand, right thigh. Flip the left palm up and sweep it up and over to the right this time. Softening the left shoulder down away from the ear. Lengthening this whole left side of the body. Finding a point to gaze at to help keep your focus and balance. Maybe you get to look up a little bit. Maybe the right ear drops towards the right shoulder. And then notice, can you feel the low back lengthening? Especially as the front ribs knit in and the spine stays long in this lateral bend. And soften the left shoulder down away from the ears. You take another round of breath. As you inhale, make your way back up to center, and exhale, release the left hand down. Slowly begin to take your hands to your front thigh and drop the hips down toward the ground. And again, back toes can tuck under or the top of the foot can stay flat on the floor, whichever option you choose. Can you feel the front heel hugging back in space and that left knee drawing slightly forward to square the hips? And then again, press the belly away from the front thigh, and you can stay here and broaden the collarbones, or drop your hands to blocks or the floor on either side of that front foot. But again, notice the tailbone still lightly tucking toward the right heel as the spine begins to lengthen up. Maybe you can find something slightly above you to gaze at. Soften the toes on your right foot. If your back toes are not tucked under, feel the pinky toe even pressing down lightly into your mat. Take one more nice deep breath in here. And as you exhale, release it out. Take your breath in, use your core strength, and come back up to stand on your knees. Plant both hands on the mat for tabletop position. Take an inhale, a nice gentle back bend. And exhale to tuck and round, pressing the floor away. As you inhale, come back to a neutral spine. Walk your hands slightly forward. This time as you inhale, take the left arm up, plant the right hand down, and as you exhale, weave the left hand behind the right wrist. And again, notice both hips moving back equally in space. Let the shoulders drop down away from the ears, and then feel space created between the left shoulder blade and the spine, and then use the right hand to press the floor away and help you rotate over to the right. And then use the breath to create more space. On your next inhale, press the floor away with the right hand. Sweep that left arm up again. Exhale, release the left hand to the floor. Press the floor away, spread the fingers, tuck the toes under, draw the belly button towards the spine, and then hover the kneecaps above the floor. Lengthen the crown of the head away from the shoulders, and then begin to press the floor away with nice, straight, strong arms. Moving the hips back in space, and again, moving towards down dog, where you can start to straighten both legs, or keep the knees bent, or even pedal them out one more time. Whatever's going to feel the best for you. But notice the biceps rolling towards your ears as you press the floor away, letting the head and neck drop. And again, drawing the belly button up towards the spine, knitting the front ribs in so the hips move up and back. And then exhale, drop the knees back to the ground, and this time go ahead and come to sit down, swing your legs out in front of you, and make your way onto your back, grabbing your strap as you make your way there. As you come onto the ground here, let's see if I can figure this out. Go ahead and hug the right knee in toward the chest, and you can have the left knee bent, or you can extend the left leg long. Might make an ankle circle or two in each direction, and maybe you even take that right knee around in a circle or two in each direction to start to massage out the hips. Eventually hugging that right knee back in, and feel the tailbone reach down to the left heel, and the low back relax, the back of the shoulder blades drop down, the back of your head release into the mat. And then from here, grab your strap, loop it up around the ball mount of your right foot, and hold on to this one hand on each side of the strap so that the arms can stay straight, stacking bone on bone. And the right heel can reach up, the right side body can lengthen, but the arms and their weight can just relax, and use that as a counterpoint to hold that right leg up in space. So if it's too intense with that left leg extended, just bend the left knee and place the left sole of the foot on the floor. Notice, have you lost your rhythm of breath, and can you take a few more rounds more deeply into the side ribs? Maybe even micro bend behind the right knee, so you're not locking at the joint here. You're welcome to stay here longer if you want, or you can move on, taking both parts of the strap into the right hand, turning the toes out towards your right shoulder, and then let the strap slide down in your hands away from the body as the left leg or the right leg moves towards the floor. And then slowly, as it hovers, maybe 6 or 8 or 10 inches above the ground, walk the right leg out to the side, regrip your strap, and then use the left hand to anchor the left hip on the floor. So creating a nice stretch in this inner adductor on the right side. Feel the left hip get heavy. And again, drop the left shoulder down. Feel the back of your head melt. And then can you breathe a space into this right side? So you get into the various components of the hamstring here. As you inhale, use your core strength, bring the right leg back up to the center. Readjust your strap so that inner seam of the right leg reaches to the midline. So you have a nice square leg. Take both parts of the strap into the left hand. Take your right hand to your right hip and lengthen it away from the right side ribs, and anchoring that right hip down, slowly begin to draw a line across the ceiling with that right leg as you get a nice IT band, lateral hamstring stretch here, making sure you reach up through the inner and outer edge of that right foot. And then again, breathing space in this outer line. Soften the left shoulder down toward your mat. As you inhale, make your way back up through center. Rebend the right knee. Release your strap for a moment. Take it out to the side. You can hug both knees into your chest. Maybe rock out a little side to side. And then go ahead and plant both feet on the floor. Shift your hips a little bit to the right, and then take your knees and drop them over to the left into a gentle spinal twist. And if you feel like your right shoulder is far away from the ground, go ahead and prop up your knees on the left side with a block or a pillow or a sweatshirt or whatever you got lying around. Taking a moment to notice a similar stretch in the spine and more open twist. And now with the support of the ground beneath you, letting gravity drop your right shoulder, right arm to the ground. On your next breath in, slowly make your way back up to the center. Realign your spine so your hips are even, your spine feels more straight. And then we'll go to the second side, so you can hug the left knee in and stretch the right leg long this time. And again, make maybe a few ankle circles with the left ankle. And then maybe make a couple knee circles with that left knee in space. So really moving the femur and the hip socket by doing so, keeping that angle between the calf and the hamstring the same. Maybe say hello to the hips. They might talk back to you. Come back to the center and then grab your strap again. Loop up the strap around the ball mount of your left foot. And then notice that each side will be different, so don't expect them to be the same and try not to force them to be the same. Just notice what you've got. Allow the upper arm bones to get heavier, so that the back of the shoulders can drop to the mat. And then let the right leg be heavy if it's extended, or maybe just bend the right knee if it's too intense at first here. But wherever you're at, breathe more deeply, more consciously, more purposefully. And again, notice the palate of this left hamstring. How can you soften it some? Using this time to restore the length of the tissues. After so often during our day, we're using them with strength. Take both straps into your left hand, turn the left toes toward the left shoulder, and then slowly lower the left leg so it's roughly parallel to the right. And then once it's 6 to 8 inches off the floor, Take that left leg out to the side a lot or a little, and then readjust the grip of your strap so that left bicep doesn't have to overwork. Maybe even take the right hand to the right hip and anchor it down. Again, right knee can be bent or straight. Feel the whole right side of the body as your anchor here without creating any more tension. As you inhale, reach that left leg back up. Go the left leg straight, maybe move the left hip away from the left side ribs, take both parts of the strap into the right hand this time, and then anchoring the left hip down, take the left leg across to the right. And you should really only go maybe a quarter of the way, maybe a third of the way, half might be pushing it. Ideally, we're anchoring that left hip down so much so and reaching up through the whole left foot to create space on this left side of the outer edge of the hip. So keep the left hip down. As soon as it starts to come off the ground, back off some. Means you've gone too far. As you inhale, make your way back up through the center, bend the left knee in towards your chest, release the strap for good this time, and then hug both knees into the chest, maybe rock it out. And then we'll take our spinal twist second side, so plant your feet on the floor with the knees bent, shift the hips to the left, and then we're going to drop the knees over to the right this time. And again, prop up as you need to. Every side will be different. Every day will be different. Every time of day will be different. So losing the expectation of what you're going to experience and then using your power of observation to notice what you've got. And then breathe more purposefully into the outer left hip, left side ribs, left armpit, allowing the outer edge of the left arm to make contact with the surface beneath it. On your next breath in, make your way again back through center. Maybe rock out the hips a little side to side. Maybe move the knees around in some circles once again, maybe this time together. And then eventually go ahead and rock your way back up to a seat. Go ahead and take your mat this time and go ahead and roll it up. It's nice in a tight roll. If you have a really thin mat, you have to place a towel or a blanket somewhere between them or lay it on top and then roll your mat so you get a nice solid cylinder on which to lie. And then we're actually going to take your mat and we are going to lie on it so that the bottom part of the mat touches the lowest part of the rib. So the tendency is to want to put it too far on the low back. So feel where your bottom ribs are and then start to recline over the over your mat. And then you have various options. You can take the arms out to the side, letting the shoulder blades melt over the mat. You can take them out at a T position. You might even start to bend the elbows a little or a lot. And then you can keep the knees bent and drop them together. You can extend them long for Shavasana. You might take the soles of the feet together and drop the knees out to the side for Supta Baddha Konasana. And I highly recommend, if you're going to take the latter version, with the knees open and out, you prop them up with books, blankets, towels, something, so that your hips don't have to work. They can just release here, letting gravity help the low back start to melt toward the ground, letting your spine be supported by the rolled mat beneath you, and then letting the back of your head rest heavy. Just make sure that if you started to bend the elbows some, your arms are totally supported from the elbow down to your wrist, to the back of your hands. They can feel the texture of the ground beneath you. And then we'll stay here for a few moments, this time not having to force the breath, but just watching it come in and out again. In the back of the shoulders, drop down to the mat. The tongue rests at the bottom of your mouth. Even your eyeballs rest more heavily in their sockets. Notice as you lie here, if any parts of the body start to tense up, can you send the breath there without any effort necessarily, but just an awareness to relax? Using this as a time to absorb the changes from your yoga practice, helping the body find equanimity and balance. By all means, stay longer if you have the time and you feel relaxed. But if you're on more of a time schedule today, maybe you want to take a nice long stretch with the arms and the legs before gently rolling over off of your mat, removing the mat from behind you, and just pausing on your back for a moment flat on the floor. You can feel the contrast from your gentle back bend to a nice neutral spine. And then once again, hug your knees into your chest, maybe rock a little side to side. And then make your way back to a seat. And just pause for a moment. Bring the hands together at the heart, bowing the gaze, thanking yourself for this time to create a sense of internal equilibrium, that nice balance that's going to help support you throughout the rest of your waking activities. So thanks for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.